Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Bedford Township Board of Zoning Appeals regularly scheduled meeting for August 19th, 2024. Go ahead and start with introduction of the members. Off to my right, please.
Jody Rector, Planning and Zoning.
Bill Goldsmith, Township Attorney.
Ms. Kohler, Building Inspector.
Pat Mahoney, Planning Commission.
Kyle Durst, Chairman.
Bob Potter, Board Member.
Mike Bassinger, Board Member.
Joe Gore, Township Trustee Representative.
Thank you. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rector, if we could with the roll call, please.
Mr. Gore.
Here.
Mr. Bassinger.
Here.
Mr. Potter.
Here.
Mr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mr. Dersch.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Go ahead and look for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Gore, supported by Mr. Potter. All in favor of approving the agenda for tonight's meeting, aye.
Aye.
All right, no opposed. We'll go ahead and move down to approval of the minutes from the July 1st meeting. Looking for a motion on that item.
I'll go ahead and make that motion to approve the minutes from July 1st meeting.
Support.
All right, motion by Mr. Gore, support by Mr. Mahoney. All in favor of approving the minutes from the July 1st meeting, aye.
Aye.
All right, well, no nays. We'll move down to new business for tonight. Item A, looking for a motion to open the public appeal for Mr. Justin Lavoie at 8724 Driftwood Avenue in Temperance, Michigan.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
All right, motion by Mr. Potter, supported by Mr. Gore. All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Yes, the applicant is Mr. Lavoie, 8724 Driftwood Avenue, parcel number 5802-7100520 on .47 acres, R3, single-family residential, seeking a plus or minus 280 square foot area variance to construct a 24 by 45 detached garage. The subject property consists of .474 acres, and the applicant is requesting a plus or minus 280 square foot area variance to construct a 24 by 45, 1,080 square feet detached garage. Per section 419.03, accessory buildings, and an R3 single-family residential zoning district, a parcel of more than 0.25 acre but less than a half acre is permitted a maximum of 800 square feet in area for accessory buildings. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a 280 square foot area variance to construct the 24 by 45 detached garage. Also note, per section 419.03 accessory buildings, a parcel of more than 0.5 acres is permitted a maximum square footage of 2,500 square feet, and as the subject property is 0.474 acres in size, it is 0.026 of an acre under the required acreage. The applicant states in the submitted letter the request size is to be able to store 4 vehicles as well as provide additional storage and workspace. The applicant stated the attached garage provides limited storage space as half of the structure is utilized as a laundry room. The applicant also stated the existing shed on the site would be demolished once the garage is completed. At this time, no calls or letters of objection have been received, and should the variance request be granted, the variance required is a plus or minus 280 square foot area variance to construct a 24 by 45 accessory building, conditioned upon demolishing the existing shed on the property once the final inspection is done on the garage.
All right, thank you. If the applicant's here, if you'd like to come up here and state your name and address for the record and add anything to that. Well, I'm sure we'll have some follow-up questions for you, but is there anything you'd like to add at this time?
All right. What do you need to know? My name, Justin Lavoie. Address is 8724 Driftwood Drive, or Avenue, Temperance, Michigan, 48182.
Thanks. Is there anything you'd like to add to what Ms. Rector said?
No, just seeing if I'm able to put a garage like that in my backyard. Like I said, I don't have a garage right now. If you look on the front of my house, it shows there is a 1-car attached garage, but half of it is a laundry room, so it's basically a 12 by 12 storage unit. And I've lived there for 10 years, maybe 10 years in, was it this month? Okay, so it's this month. Lived there 10 years and been saving up for this opportunity. And I do also have letters of my neighbors, my surrounding neighbors on my left and right, and the three neighbors behind me, that they don't object to building size. If you guys want those copies.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, look for a motion to go ahead and close the public hearing unless there's anyone else in the audience that would like to come up and speak on this. All right. Seeing none, we'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Bassinger, thank you. Looking for support?
I'll second.
Mr. Potter, thank you for the support. All in favor of closing the public hearing, aye?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now, good, hang out there for a second. I'll open it up to the board for questions.
Okay.
Gersh? So I'm looking at, so we're .026 of an acre is costing him 1,700 square feet, correct?
That is correct. If he had a 0.5 of an acre, the ordinance would permit 2,500 square feet of accessory buildings.
How much is .026? I mean, does anybody have a clue? Is it like 10 feet by 100 feet, or, I mean,
I'm going to look at Mr. Goldsmith for that answer.
Math majors.
I mean, because it doesn't sound like it's a lot.
Times what, .02?
Dennis is going to fill
Dennis has his calculator out. He's going to let you know.
It looks like 113 square feet.
Okay. I mean,
Very much.
roughly a 10 by 10 area,
Yeah, it's very,
Okay.
very minimal.
more of a person.
that's what I'm saying. It's very minimal. It's costing him 1,700 square feet. So that's what I was trying to get at. I'm also trying to. Does anybody have any practical difficulties?
Yeah, we've seen this before when it's right on the cusp, and it's a big jump. I thought it was 1,500 when I first read this. I didn't realize it jumps to 2,500 square foot just by getting to a half acre. Mr. Bassinger?
I got a couple questions, I guess. It's a platted public development, I take it? I know it's an older development.
This is a
Guess the
platted
question I would
subdivision.
have, is there any deed restrictions in there or anything in there that he couldn't build a pole barn that needs to match?
As a
the
township,
existing
we don't
house?
enforce those deed restrictions in platted subdivisions. There's just no possible way that staff-wise we could keep up on all those subdivisions that we have, let alone who are the associations and if there are active ones. We advise every applicant, though, that there are deed restrictions, and it is up to them, because if it was an issue, it would become between the property owner and the neighborhood.
Yeah. I drove around the neighborhood in there just looking for, I guess, more buildings like that. You can't really see them driving around. I can see there's several detached garages. But if you get on Google Maps, there's garages in there, buildings in there that are probably larger than what he's wanting to build in there.
Correct.
When I first seen the plan, it doesn't seem like a neighborhood where a pole barn would go. You know, and it should be more like a garage looking.
The house, not to cut you guys off, but the house, I think 4 houses down from me, if you look up on Google, they got it's actual post frame barn.
It is.
Is according to what,
I could see it on Google Maps, but I couldn't see it when I
According to
drove
what
by.
Zillow writes it up as.
It is a small difference in lot size,
Mr. Chair?
fraction.
Keep in mind, we have to take one on each application on its own merit and what they're requesting, and I can't speak on what was from another property without having that information in front of me.
Yeah, and it's quite possible they are at a half acre. I mean, we see the subdivisions, just depends on how it's sliced with the road. I'm guessing that's where that .06 disappeared.
But the old ordinance used to allow detached structures to equal a square footage of the living space. So I have a lot of large garages in there, and this, under the old ordinance, would not have needed a variance.
Yeah, just for reference, what is the square footage of your first floor? Do you know off the top of your head?
Of my house?
Yeah.
I think it's 1,080 square foot with the addition and the existing garage.
Okay.
Or 1,100 square foot or something like that is what it is.
Mr. Mahoney, you have a question?
Yeah,
I don't mind that you're requesting something a little larger than the ordinance allows, but I do have a couple problems. Number one, on your application, you said you wanted to store 4 cars. I think ordinance doesn't allow you any more than 3. Is that correct, Jody?
I don't believe our ordinance restrict how many vehicles you can have. They just have to be licensed and plated.
Everything's licensed and
But
plated.
I don't think the ordinance actually restricts how many vehicles.
In 400.401, principal use is permitted for R1 through R3. It says accessory buildings may include 1 private garage for each residential lot in which there may be housed not more than 3 motor vehicles. Here's a copy of it. You want to see it?
I'll probably need a variance then because with my kids driving.
I would say that as the ordinance states that for the R3,
So that would make it a use variance request, wouldn't it?
And the 4 vehicles that I have is, I have 2 cars, my wife has a car, and my daughter's car. So that's for the whole 4 cars.
Or get a bigger house?
well, I'm just going to be the opposite, say that the ordinance says that not more than 3, but if he houses 3 vehicles in there and leaves 1 outside, well, I guess I'm a little confused by the ordinance language. Maybe it's implying not more than a 3-car garage, but I don't have anything that actually restricts. This is actually saying for accessory buildings, not actually restricting how many cars he can have on the property. In my interpretation, I'm looking at it as it says accessory buildings and uses, that the size of the structure could not be for more than 3 motor vehicles, and 1 may not be a commercial vehicle not larger than a regular manufactured pickup, but it doesn't actually restrict how many vehicles on site he could have. I think that it's just referring to the accessory building.
Unless it's a commercial vehicle, and a commercial vehicle is.
I think that goes on to describe bigger cars.
It's supposed to be a commercial vehicle, not larger than a regularly manufactured pickup or panel truck, 1.5 tons. So like a Ford F-150 or something along those lines. So you can have an unlimited amount of motor vehicles on your property as long as they're licensed and insured. They have to be properly registered, licensed, insured. If they're not, then that brings you under the blight ordinance, and they can be removed by court order if it got to that point. So,
Well, the need to store 4 vehicles in this building, that's why you're here, to get a variance to build a building large enough to do that, right?
For the most part, yeah. The 1 car, like I said, is my daughter's, and she probably won't be in there, but just in case. But basically how it was laid out, it's like 2 cars deep. So it'll be like, my 2 cars in the front that I daily drive, and my 1 car that I drive in the back corner, and then just a little area to basically work. But if I have to put, my daughter's car in there or something at one point, then should be able to fit it in there. But with the stuff that's coming out of the shed, I probably won't be able to put it in there.
So, and I drove through the neighborhood. I didn't see any metal buildings. That's the other thing that I have against what you're proposing is a metal building. If it was a garage that matched the house and kind of went along with the neighborhood, I'd be more for this. Is that within the realm of possibility?
What do you mean by metal building? Or so the metal building is just a metal framing of the building. The outside is still going to be like a standard pole barn looking building.
Metal siding, or will it match your house?
It'll still, the color will be almost the same color as the house, but eventually, if I get approved on this, we're going to side the house with the same color as the barn, so it will match, but it'll be just a different shade of blue. But it won't have any vinyl siding, it'll just be metal siding. But But like I said, the one house, like 4 houses down from me, is the pole barn has the same thing. It's still, it's metal roof, metal siding.
I didn't see that pole barn. I saw 8659 look like they had a larger than
Yeah.
allowed garage, and it looks like it flows with the neighborhood. It doesn't stand out.
Right, right.
That's my concern, is that this building will stand out.
I mean, I don't think it would. I don't think it would stand out. Like I said, it's just a corrugated steel siding, just like.
That's what I mean. I expect to see steel-sided buildings like on agricultural and commercial properties, not in a residential
Right,
area.
right. It makes sense.
Regardless of the style of the building, if he would have had that 100 square feet to his yard, we wouldn't even be here. He could build this exact pole barn without any variances, correct?
Correct.
That is correct.
I got just a couple quick comments that I'd like you to consider. One is the size of the building. I know you said you're doing metal frame. Is that 45 the definitive length? Just because I know they typically come in 8-foot increments, and if you can't go over that once we approve this variance, if it gets approved.
No, it'd be 45. I think the concrete work, I think, is going to be 45 and a half by, was it 45 and a half by 24 and a half, and that's just to pull the metal over the side of it so the water don't get inside on it.
Okay.
The framing itself will be exactly on point.
Okay, just making sure you had that come
Right.
about where someone goes to order the kit and realizes, oh, the standard size is 46, so that's.
Right, no. No, I specifically asked the builder that's
Okay.
what I'm doing.
And then I see the power line back here. I would just double check your easement rights with them before you build that in their easement and they come down and make you tear it down potentially.
Okay, so I contacted somebody from consumers, and they told me that it's 15 foot from any like 7700 voltage power line. That's why I wrote that one on it, because the power line goes across all those properties back there.
Okay.
And then he said it was 5 feet from 120, 240 line. So I might actually move that over where it says 5 foot there. I might move that over 1 extra foot just to be more on the safe side.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want to have any issues if there's an easement and they come back to do tree trimming and find.
And no, they'll be able to get back there. I'm gonna put a double gate back there and all that, so we'll be able to.
Any further questions, Mr. Bassinger?
Is there a septic system back there?
No, it's sewer.
It's sewer?
Yeah. I think there was at one point, but I'm assuming it's probably gone. But like I said, it's been sewer since I moved in.
Okay.
No further questions. We'll look for a motion to take us to a vote.
I guess.
Mr. Potter?
Comment. I was walking into the room. I was going to vote against it, but now that I realize that there's 100 square foot of, you're shy 100 square foot of being able to do whatever you want. Well, you know, it seems more reasonable. It seems more reasonable. The request seems more reasonable now that I realize that we're so close to a half acre. It's not like we're quite a bit. The only issue I still have, though, is a practical difficulty. You know, I don't think it's a valid practical difficulty that you have more vehicles than 800 square feet would sufficiently house. I don't know if any one of us have discussed practical difficulty on this issue tonight. So that'd be my remaining question.
I think part of his statement of not having an attached garage, that this is like his garage and his accessory building. That's where he's trying to do twofold with this building. Most houses have an attached garage, and then they're allowed an accessory building to go along with that single-family dwelling.
Would he be able to build an 800 square foot garage?
If it were attached to the house,
No, regardless, separate or attached.
if the square footage of the lot is what drives the accessory structure, so that if it was attached, he probably wouldn't be here. If we had main building setbacks and then lot coverage covered, he would not be here. If it was attached, he could build it.
And the only practical difficulty that I had written down was basically there is no current garage. I mean,
Does it have something to do with the property that's unique?
that's just it.
That defines a practical difficulty. It's not the house.
Right, and usually we find septic tank or power lines are in the way or something like that.
That would be a practical difficulty.
Correct, and we don't have that here.
Yeah.
Like we usually have, and that's what I'm struggling with.
Is the lot too narrow on the driveway side to put a garage in that's attached?
What do you mean on this side right here?
On the driveway side, whichever side that is.
So there, I think there's 8, so if you look at the corner up to the top right there, about right there, from there to I believe the property line is about 8 feet wide.
Okay, so you really don't have
Right.
space to put a building there.
Right.
A driveway, and that's it.
Right.
And is the garage in the front corner of the house where you couldn't extend back into the yard from the attached?
From there,
Yeah.
it would be like 12 feet by however long, but right where the power line goes in, you see it right there, the power line goes from the transformer all the way in.
You couldn't really add on to that
is-
side then?
Right, my electrical panel is right in the back corner right there.
So even if you wanted to extend it into the yard, you really probably couldn't at that point.
Right.
Maybe his practical difficulty is he can't add this onto the house. I mean, the configuration of the house, I mean, realistically, he could add a 24 by a bigger than 45-foot attached garage to this without it being here, correct? My guess is you have an abandoned septic system behind your house somewhere, you know, a leach bed, caved-in tank or something. It makes sense to put it there versus if you did add onto your house, plus you're going to take up half your house with a garage.
Right.
I'm going to ask
Part of the
you to
traffic.
please speak in the mic.
Sorry. Is it working?
Yeah. You did.
I can talk loud without the mic.
Yeah, I can see with the orientation of the electrical and the panel and being really prohibitive of doing an addition. I think we've actually got an item like that on our agenda tonight later on for an addition that's making an existing attached garage bigger instead of going separate. Because, I mean, looking at the size, if we went to the 800 square foot, I think we end up with like a 24 by 32, which still is reasonable in size. It's not an unreasonable size for an accessory building.
So realistically, it's either, there's no in between. It's either 800 or 2,500. He can't even go to 1,100 or 1,200 without a variance because he's 0.026 acres or whatever feet off.
There's one question, too, we didn't ask, height. You have no issues with the height requirement?
No, you guys said under 14 foot, and with a 10-foot wall, I think a 412 pitch puts it at just under 14 foot, like 13 and a half foot tall. Originally was asking for it, but I'm not worried about it. The way the construction of the building will allow the interior, height, whatever.
You're not looking to put a lift or do anything commercial out of it?
There's nothing commercial going to be going out of it. No.
Was the laundry room renovation done prior to you moving into the house?
Yes.
So that garage was already
Yes.
put essentially when you moved in? Okay. Well, look for a motion. We can bring it to a vote either way, even if we may not vote in one direction or another. We can still bring the motion and bring it to discussion and see if we can come up with a practical difficulty that we can agree upon. Or Mr. Goldsmith has any ideas, perhaps? I think we've batted around a couple potential ones.
I think you've hit them all. I think Joe hit on it. It's either 800 feet or 2,500 feet. There's no sliding scale based upon the difference between a half acre and a quarter acre. So, not that an ordinance would necessarily be written that way, but that's something that you can take into consideration in determining whether or not you want to grant this variance request. And with respect to the 3 motor vehicles, you're right, that would be a use variance, and we don't have the authority to grant a use variance, but that's not being requested. It's an area variance. So what he does with that building, if it was granted, would be subject to enforcement if that situation were to be abused. I think that's a provision in our ordinance. The principal permitted use is a provision in our ordinance that's probably never enforced as long as the vehicles are kept within a fully enclosed building, if it's large enough. There's people who have pole barns that have classic car collections in the township, and there's more than 3 vehicles. So it's there, but I don't think it's enforced very often, if at all. But you're right, that would be a use variance, which you can't consider, and it's not on the table tonight. But I think you've identified, well, to start with, Jody identified it, or Katrina identified it when they wrote this up, is if he had 0.026 additional acres, he could have an accessory building as large as 2,500 square feet. So that certainly is a point of discussion for you to think about.
So I'll take a stab at a motion for discussion. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the variance of Justin Lavoie at 8724 Driftwood Avenue, Temperance, Michigan. Lot number 5802-710052-00 has requested a 280 square foot variance to construct a 24 by 45 foot accessory building on condition that upon demolition of the existing shed. One, I guess, practical difficulty, and it's a stretch, is there's no current garage and there's no room to build an attached garage due to the setbacks from property lines. And another one would be the fact that, he's not even 100 square foot shy land-wise of being able to construct something twice as big as this if he wanted to.
You could add, the township is not the enforcement agency for deed restrictions, and we express no opinion on whether the construction of this building would or would not satisfy deed restrictions, and that would be up to the property owner to make that determination based upon a review of the deed restrictions and consultation with a homeowners association if one exists.
I'll accept that friendly amendment, and I'll throw it out there. Is it worth getting a survey done, and that way maybe you gain 100 feet with a new survey? I don't know.
Probably not, because it's a platted subdivision.
Okay. Yeah.
If it was a meets and bounds description, that is always a possibility. But because it's a platted subdivision, it probably is not going to make any significant difference.
I'm open for discussion.
We'll look for support, and we can get to discussion. Support from Mr. Potter. Okay. I guess I would like to add perhaps to the current garage situation that it was purchased that way. This isn't something that was self-created, that there's no use now for the attached garage. It was previously renovated, while ago, probably at that point.
Right. I'm fine with that.
I don't know if that's accurate. I mean, it is self-created. He didn't want to make the.
Please use the microphone so I can hear you. Thank you.
Excuse me. It is self-created because he wants to build a building as big as he wants. If it was something less.
Still can't hear you, Bob. You need to
The-
lapel.
I don't think we can put in there that the issue's not self-created. I'd just assume that.
It's not self-created by this applicant because the home was purchased in that condition. So the applicant didn't self-create the situation.
Not the lack of a garage or a usable garage, but the fact that it is self-created that he wants to build a building that's larger than 800 square feet.
And it's still self-created, whoever did it in the first place, and it carries on to the subsequent owners, correct?
Generally, you look at the current owner and the applicant and whether or not the applicant created what he is or she is offering as the practical difficulty, not what some previous property owner may or may not have done. It's viewed and weighed against the applicant. So if this applicant did something that's created the need for a variance, that would be applied against the current property owner, the applicant.
I just see it as he's asking for 280 square feet, and by just being shy of 100 square feet, he could build I can't get over that. He could build something more than double this size. I mean, and he wouldn't even be standing here today. And I understand we do have an ordinance, but that's a big gap. You either can do 800 or 2,500. There's no in between. So
I don't have a problem with added size. My issue is just that it's a metal building, and that there is no practical difficulty I can see. You didn't state one in your application
Or
requesting the variance. Yes, they have something to do with the dimensional qualities of your property.
I think
Can't you add on to it?
Yeah, I think you did mention here the fact that the laundry room has taken up the existing garage and it wasn't created by this owner. It was done previously before the house was bought. Now there is no garage space on this property. So we've talked about this before. It is improving the aesthetics of the property, moving the vehicles inside, getting them out of the yard, getting them out of the driveway. It's more secure for the property owner to have their stuff stored inside as opposed to sitting in the driveway as well.
That building's going to be there a long time, long after you're gone. After
Oh,
you
I'm sure.
sell it, yeah.
However, whatever the outside of whatever the building's made of, if he wanted to build a 800 square foot pole barn, he'd be able to. So the issue of whatever the exterior of the building, I mean, if he could do a metal barn if it's 800 square feet, why can't he do it if it's?
In my opinion, you can do a metal barn if that's goes with the neighborhood, and there's other metal barns in the neighborhood, but it doesn't. There aren't any other that I could see.
there is. There's two other ones.
There are, and Mr. Potter's
I didn't notice them.
Yeah.
If it was
One
800
actually, before you pull into my development on the left-hand side, I think I forget, do you remember his name? I think he's the old the commissioner, or if he is still the commissioner. He just built one of those metal frame barns right there, and it's right off of Temperance Road, and that's in my development. And it's right there on the left-hand side as you're heading west on Temperance, turn in there. That one right there is a full metal frame, metal-sided building. The same one exactly that I'm going to be putting on mine, just different color. And then, like I said, the 4 houses down, like 3 or 4 houses down from me, the guy, it's a metal, or not a metal, but it's metal sided, metal roofed. And that's actually a pole barn. I looked up on Google, and I got pictures if you guys want to see it.
You sit pretty far back in Driftwood, right? All the way to the back of the sub?
Yes.
I mean, well off at Temperance Drive. I mean,
Yes.
you're way back there.
Yes. There's probably maybe 10, 15 houses, and then there's a wooded area back there that goes beyond all the way to Dean Road. So yeah, I'm back in.
So it's just typically homeowner traffic back there.
Right.
And all the neighbors you said you spoke with?
I spoke with.
We'll take your
and
word for
I
it.
made little for them to sign if they're okay with it, and I did the neighbor on left and right of me and the 3 neighbors behind me surrounding the property, and they were okay with size, and I even explained to them what type of building that I was putting up, and they said they were fine with it.
Yeah, I guess I'm less concerned about the aesthetics. If it was 800 square foot, you could put a pink barn in for all we know, and you'd have to live with it, but you'd have a pink barn, and you'd have no say over what it looked like or anything of that nature. That's my personal stand. I think I agree with Mr. Gore. We're right at the cusp. There's no sliding scale. You know, it's 800 to 2,500 is a huge jump to deprive that based on 100 square feet of property.
I'm not objecting to the size.
So we've got motion by Mr. Gore, support by Mr. Potter. I know we've discussed the deed restriction. There's no current garage that attached garage that's usable, and we're right at that 100 square foot essentially of being able to build twice as large of a structure. Is there any other items, also contingent on demolishing the existing shed on the property upon completion of construction? Does that cover everything we've added to the motion?
I believe so.
Okay. Mr. Gore, Mr. Potter, if you support that, or if there's anything else we'd like to add, we can go ahead and take it to a vote.
I'm good.
All right. I believe we're ready to go ahead and take it to a vote.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Bassinger,
Aye.
Mr. Potter,
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney,
No.
and Mr. Dersch.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
All set.
All set? Am I
You
good?
just have to go see dentist in the morning.
Okay.
Have a good night.
All right. Thank you. You guys want these for the
Oh, yeah, I'll put them in your packet.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving down to the second item on our agenda tonight, we're looking for a motion to open the public hearing for the appeal of Aaron and Nathaniel Morris at 1849 Harrisbrook Drive in Temperance, Michigan.
I'll make the motion that we open the public hearing.
Support.
All right, motion by Gore, supported by Mr. Bassinger. All in favor of opening the public hearing, aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Yes, the applicants are Aaron and Nathaniel Morris, 1849 Christabrook, Temperance, Michigan, 48182. Parcel number 5802-520-05900 on .343 of an acre, R2A single-family residential, requesting a 2.5-foot height variance to construct a 6-foot fence in the front yard located on a corner lot. The applicant is seeking a 2.5-foot height variance to construct a 6-foot fence in the front yard. The property consists of 3.343 acres and has 2 front yards and is located on the corner of Christa Drive and Centennial. Per section 419.12, fences, 2A, number 1, fences within a front yard shall not exceed 3.5 feet in height and shall be restricted to decorative fences. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a 2.5-foot height variance to construct a 6-foot fence in the front yard on a corner lot. The applicant stated in this submitted letter the desire to replace the existing 4-foot wooden fence with 6-foot tall wooden privacy fence due to the wear and tear on the fence from her dog. The applicant further stated the current fence height is insufficient as she had suffered damage as her dog is able to jump onto the fence and potentially jump over the fence, and a 6-foot fence would prohibit that while providing privacy for her children on a corner lot. The applicant also noted the fence would be located outside the road right-of-way on Centennial, which is 30 feet from the center of the road. At this time, no letters or calls of objection have been received, and the applicant has supplied a letter of no objection to the Planning Department. Should the variance request be granted, the variance required is a 2.5-foot height variance to construct a 6-foot fence in the front yard on a corner lot. conditioned upon the fence being located outside the road right-of-way and the corner clearance.
All right, thank you. If the applicant's here, if you'd like to come up and state your name and address for the record, please, and anything you'd like to add?
My name is Erin Morris, and the address is 1849 Carisbrook Drive. It's Temperance, Michigan, 48182.
All right, is there anything you'd like to add to what Ms. Rector said?
No, I think she covered it all.
Thank you. Assuming no one else is here to come up in public comment, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to close the public comment.
Motion to close.
All right, motion by Gore, support by Mr. Potter. All in favor of closing the public comment, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. If you could just hang out for a second, I'm sure we'll have a couple questions from the board that they'd like to ask.
Another two front yard. This is our Achilles heel. I mean, this is almost every other meeting. We have,
This is a common one, unfortunately.
yeah, it is. So there's already a 4-foot fence there now?
Correct.
Okay.
It's going back in the same location? I mean, if you put in the 6 foot, it'd be in the same location as the 4 foot?
Yes.
Did they need a variance to put that in the front yard from the last time, or whenever they put the original fence in?
I don't know that there was a variance for the 4 foot. Was there on record? Was it close enough that
I
it was
believe
okay?
it's the split rail.
Shadow box.
Yeah, it's like a shadow box from when I drove by it.
I didn't,
Yes.
yeah. I don't believe there was a variance for the fencing that was put up.
Someone kicked the tape measure 6 inches off the ground.
Is that dog going to be able to clear a 6 foot fence?
No.
No?
No.
Be able to look over it.
Huh?
Be able to look over it.
No, not him.
Great Dane?
You think he can look over that? 6-foot fence?
Was that fence there when you bought the house, or did you guys add the fence?
There was a split rail,
Okay,
and he destroyed the split rail.
yeah.
So my late husband installed that shadow box.
Okay, got it.
I appreciate the photos and everything you put in. I assume the photos are yours in the packet.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think most of us all drove by and saw it, but that helps while we're sitting here to visualize that corner. Which obviously it's not a busy intersection. There's not a ton of traffic, but that is something we take into consideration of making sure we're not creating any line of sight issues.
I did include a picture of where the stop sign is to where our fence is. There's a big distance.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to see around that corner.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Is there more than one neighbor that you've got an okay with?
Yes, I have another letter. He just gave it to me after I applied.
Okay. So the one neighbor that you already had is on one side. This one is where?
Like diagonal to me. We share the corner.
This house here?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, over here, maybe.
This one here. That's the one you have
Oh, okay.
now.
All right.
Yes, the one I have now. And then the one right next to me, the 1865, is the one that you guys have a copy of.
Okay.
This is the one that was provided to us. You see, we wrote the address, and then this is the gentleman, or the property owner.
Okay.
Property owner whom she has a letter from today.
Where?
I say I have the one for today. I did not bring a copy of the one
I guess-
for you guys.
Looking at the
Oh, okay. I thought he said he didn't see it.
this layout drawing, I mean, we're, 10, 12 feet in front of the corner of the house is all we're talking about that's being considered front yard. No, we're not going all the way up to the front corner of the house either. It's just a little portion where the gate is.
Are you doing dog ear style?
Can I do it in dog ear?
Yeah, you listed it there. I was just asking if you're going to use dog ear fencing.
Yes.
I think that would look best versus stockade.
I agree.
So you have no sidewalk there then?
No. That was the neighborhood behind me is basically newer. That's where this neighborhood used to stop, and that's why there's only sidewalk back there.
is that? There's no sidewalk in that part. Right. Any further, Mr. Bassinger?
Yeah, my concern when I first seen it was, blocking line of sight and stuff, but when I drove around and went down Centennial to, what is it, Caresbrook? It doesn't seem to block it at all. I mean, there's quite a distance between the existing fence and the edge of the road right now, and there's not like trees and stuff blocking it.
Yeah, and the photo again helps quite a bit. There's no further questions. We'll go ahead and look for a motion to bring this forward.
Sorry, I know you guys. May I make I'm John with American.
You have to come up to the podium.
You can come up with her. If you're the contractor, that's okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to let you guys know I did a measurement this morning. I'm John with John Lopez, American Fence and Supply, Toledo, Ohio.
Name and address, please.
1631 Coining Drive, Toledo, Ohio. I just wanted to give you guys some specifics. We're 78 feet from the corner of the fence to the corner of the turn.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you that information.
Okay. And I think it's noted in here you're aware of the right of way and making sure the fence is far enough out of the right of way.
Correct.
Side of the road. Okay. All right. If there's no further questions, we'll go ahead and look for motion and support to bring forward discussion.
All right, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the 2-foot fence variance for, I'm on the wrong one, just a second. .5-foot variance.
HOA meeting ending. I think the HOA meeting's
So
over.
2.5-foot variance for Aaron and Nathaniel Morris at 1849 Caresbrook Drive, Temperance, Michigan. Property number 5802-520-05900 to construct a 6-foot privacy fence. And practical difficulties is we're dealing with a corner lot with a two front yards basically, and for more security for children and pets.
Look for support. Support from Mr. Potter. Thank you. I would like to add, I think condition is noted here, just make sure that it's out of the road right away, maintains the road clearance, so essentially putting it in the exact same spot that it's in now, not expanding it out any further.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fine.
You accept, Mr. Potter? Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussion items or items we'd like to attach? All right. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move forward to a vote. Ms. Richter, please.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bassinger?
Aye.
Mr. Potter?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I should have done Potter first. Mr. Mahoney?
Aye.
And Mr. Dersch?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
And
You're all set.
Thank you, guys.
all right, moving down to the third and final item. We're looking for motion to open the public appeal for Mr. Mark Gates and Nettie Kowalski at 7506 Bernard Drive, Temperance, Michigan.
I'll move that we open for public. What are we doing?
Public hearing.
Open discussion on that motion.
Thank you. Looking for support.
Support.
All right, Mr. Potter with the motion, support from Mr. Gore. All in favor, open the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Yes, the applicant is Mark Gates and Nettie Kowalski, 7506 Bernard Drive, Temperance, Michigan, 48182. Parcel number 5802-476-01700 on .413 acre, R2B, single-family residential, looking for a plus or minus 2-foot side yard setback. The applicant is seeking to construct a 20 by 70, 1,400 square foot garage addition to an existing attached garage where a 2-foot side yard setback variance was granted on 3/7 of 1988 to construct a 22 by 30 garage addition to an existing dwelling. And I did include those minutes. Per section 400-1800, Schedule of Regulations, in an R2B single-family residential zoning district, a minimum of one side yard setback of 8 feet and a total of 20 is required. As the applicant is requesting to increase the size of the attached garage structure, an additional 2-foot variance is requested for the proposed addition. The applicant has indicated in the submitted letter there has been consideration on many options in remedying the issue of limited space for storage. However, it is just not feasible for the option of purchasing a new larger home at this time. At this time, no letters or calls of objection have been received, and should the variance request be granted, the variance required is a 2-foot side yard setback to construct a 20 by 70 garage addition. I did want to also add, I'm going to pass this information down and go down to the portion from when the variance was granted. The applicant was actually going to submit for a variance for a detached garage. And then to avoid coming for a variance, he submitted to Mr. Kohler, the building official, for an attached garage. And when we pulled the packet information out, it was provided that he would still need a variance because a variance was sought for the existing garages here. And it's 6 feet already granted a variance of 2 feet where the 8 feet was required. So the applicant did try to avoid coming for a variance to do an attached garage, thinking it was where it was existing from the previous owner in 1988. Therefore, a variance had to be sought for the 2 foot to add on to the existing structure that's there because he's increasing the nonconforming.
All right. If the applicant or your representative would like to come up here and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Mark Gates. My address is 7506 Bernard Drive, Temperance, Michigan.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add to what Ms. Rector said?
No, I think she's covered everything.
All right. If there is anyone else here for public comment on this item, if not, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
All right.
Support.
All right. Motion by Mr. Mahoney, support by Mr. Bassinger? Or Mr. Gore? Mr. Gore, thank you. All in favor of closing the public hearing, aye?
Aye.
All right. Public hearing is closed. Thank you. If you could hang out, I'm sure we got a couple questions that we'd like to ask you. So I'll go ahead and open the floor to the board.
I've got a question. The 1998 variance approved was for a 22 by 30 garage addition. When I looked on the township property information website, the garage measurement is 30 foot by 30 foot, the existing garage. So I'm wondering why,
Is that just an assessing error, perhaps, or?
I can't speak on it. If I would have known that was going to be a question, I could have pulled up the property information, but I'm going by what the minutes were approved by the variance and the emission that was submitted with the building permit.
yeah,
They actually sought, in the beginning, they sought a larger structure and needed a 4 foot. If you read the minutes, it said which would put them 4 foot on the property line. And they decreased the size of the structure on the variance to allow it for 6 feet, and that's why they only needed 2 feet instead of 4 feet.
Yeah. Well, I did notice on the 1998 variance there was a discussion that the house was originally built for a future garage, so that might have meant that there was a portion of the house roofing that already extended out there. Okay. That already extended out. Anyway, the assessing department has 30 by 30, which is more than 30 by 22. So that was just a question.
How? 88.
Yeah, 88. Okay, 98, 88.
Even longer ago.
Long time ago.
And I guess I'll comment. I'm assuming that we would have been here for the same thing the first applicant was here for if we weren't here for the setback. Is that fair?
That is fair.
You would need a square footage variance to build a larger structure that would be 1,400 square foot.
That's correct.
Yeah. I guess, bottom line, I don't know that it really matters because you're still 6 feet away from the property line, and the addition you want to put in is also going to be 6 feet away from the property line, and to me, that makes sense. Why you have the addition?
Yeah, I want the flow of the house to look natural.
So then another question I have, is there a square foot limit? This would be for our board here, for Jody. Is there a size limit for buildings? You know, so that you don't
Coverage,
I don't know.
I think
Detached.
there is, but I don't know
I
what
know
that number.
detached is.
we're zoned R2B.
I know when we have detached buildings, there's a limit on the size of the detached building based on the.
Detached is 25% of the rear yard, but maximum lot coverage by buildings is 30%.
Okay, so we're still well.
I believe he's
well
still
within that.
well outside
I
that.
think 30%.
I believe if he would have went with the other detached structure in the back with a larger structure, because he is at that also 0.02% of 2,500 square feet allowed, but then chose to go with an attached garage, thinking he wouldn't need a variance, but was advised when he came in for a building permit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You plan to site it, the addition, like the rest of the house?
Yeah, it's actually going to be part of a larger project where we're going to reside the entire house.
Okay.
It's going to look even better than it does now.
Is the existing shed in the back corner staying, or is that coming down with the?
No, that's staying.
Okay. Any further? This is a weird one. I don't know we've had one where we've had a existing condition we're maintaining. You know, personally, the other aspect I think that we mentioned it was we are maintaining the total setback still. It's still meeting the 20 foot with the 18 plus the 6. It's just this one side we're looking to continue on. Is there a reason you're going narrower with the addition and not? I mean, because theoretically you could come as far into your yard as you wanted.
Why it's only 20 feet?
Yeah, because it looks like the old one's 22 or even supposed to be.
Right now, I currently have a deck right there,
Okay.
and which will get ripped up probably next spring. I'm going to put a concrete slab in there instead, a concrete patio. But I mean, that's really what the stopper is right now. I mean, 20 feet's wide enough for us for what we're doing. So.
And you do have a garage door in the back of the existing garage already.
We do.
You have access.
That's going to all be opened up.
Mm-hmm.
All going to flow right into the new section.
And there's, I guess this is for the question for Jody, there's no height restrictions or concerns. I guess how high are you planning to go?
It's going to be under the existing roof. The garage roof is, I don't know the height of it, but it won't go as high as the existing roof.
R2B's got a 35-foot height variant, allowable.
Okay, so it could be pretty tall if you chose to. Not that you intend to, but. All right. If there's no further questions or discussion, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to bring this forward to a vote.
Well, I'll go 3 for 3. I'll try. I'll go ahead and say that we grant the plus or minus 2 foot side yard setback variance to Mark Gates and Nettie Kowalski.
That was their maiden name when we bought the house.
Okay. 7506 Bernard Drive, Temperance, Michigan. Lot number 5802-476-01700. And
I'll support that.
but he got practical difficulties to throw in there. Do we really need them?
It's a tough one because I will say it's very notable you tried to avoid this situation. We appreciate that you attempted to do the right thing by coming to this, and we ended up here still, unfortunately. But tough on a practical difficulty. I know we're maintaining the existing. We're not making anything worse than what's there. The 2 foot setback was previously granted many years ago, and we're carrying on from that with the addition to the building.
It seems like the practical difficulty would be there's already a 2 foot variance on the structure, And all we're doing is extending the requested building does not vary from that 2 foot.
The other component of this is it's an expansion of a prior legal non-conforming structure. And so, and the reason it's legal is because a variance was requested by a prior owner, and that variance was granted. And so there's a distinction between expansion of a prior legal non-conforming structure and a request for a variance without that prior legal non-conforming status. So technically, the expansion of a prior legal non-conforming structure does not technically require practical difficulty. So that's what this is. Again, prior legal because it was granted before. And he's not encroaching any further toward the boundary line and going, I guess I would say, straight back. So if you want to make that part of the motion, you could.
I'm fine.
We had you for the motion, support from Mr. Gore or Mr. Potter.
Yeah, I was going to go 3 for 3.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with that. If you're okay with that, and I think
with it.
we'll also like to note that we do meet the total setback of the 20 foot. We're just this one side we're short the 2 feet, but the other side there's plenty of the required setback. All right. If there's no other additions or changes, we'll go ahead and move forward with the vote.
You said Mr. Potter second that?
Mr. Bassinger,
Mr.
sorry.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bassinger?
Aye.
Mr. Potter?
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney?
Aye.
Mr. Dersch?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and move down to public comment. Does anyone want to come up, state their name and address for the record? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and look at board and staff comments starting at my right.
I did send out an email. The meeting for September 10th, which is a Tuesday, due to the elections, it was changed that it has been canceled. Today was the deadline. The next deadline is not until September 16th by noon, and that meeting date will be Monday, October 7th. Also, for informational purposes, Mr. Kohler and I have discussed on maybe looking at the accessory building tables, possibly maybe adding another line item section in between those 2 sizes of parcels, because we have been having a lot of variances of that nature, but we're still going to keep in mind the 25% of the rear yard that will still have to come into play. But we have discussed that lately we've been having a lot of those with that large gap of a size of a parcel, but until the ordinance is amended, they will continue to come before this board. That is all I have. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Nothing for me. Thank you.
I have nothing.
Nothing for me.
Great discussion as always. I thank everyone for coming out and being here tonight.
No additional comments, thank you.
Nothing for me.
No, ditto.
All right, a quiet night tonight. Go ahead and look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Good, Mr. Gore. He's got the ball tonight. Support for Mr. Bassinger. All in favor of adjourning the meeting? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Have a good night.